Death row. A sterile phrase that hides the harsh reality. Behind bars, there are human beings carrying the weight of their sentences, the finality of it all. Do we really have the right to decide who lives and who dies? This question haunts us, divides us, and forces us to confront our beliefs. For years I've walked alongside those condemned, heard their stories, witnessed their fear, their hope, their despair. Death row isn't just a monolith, it's a tapestry of lives filled with mistakes, pain, regret, and sometimes, surprisingly, redemption. We must look beyond the crimes, see the human beings trapped within, and understand the complexities of their lives. The death penalty is often touted as a deterrent, a way to keep society safe. But does it truly work? Evidence suggests otherwise. It's not about safety, it's about vengeance, about perpetuating a cycle of violence. We must ask ourselves, is this the kind of society we want to be? The debate rages on, abolitionists versus proponents, each side entrenched in their beliefs. But one thing is certain, the death penalty is a deeply flawed system that disproportionately affects the poor, the marginalized, the misunderstood. It is a system crying out for reform, for compassion, for a deeper understanding of justice. Death row is a world unto itself, a concrete and steel cage where time stretches and distorts. Every day the same, yet every day different. The constant hum of fluorescent lights, the clanging bars, the ever-present shadow of death. Inmates live with this shadow. It colors their every thought, their every action. Some withdraw into themselves, lost in memories and regrets. Others find solace in faith, clinging to hope, to the possibility of redemption. There are moments of laughter, of camaraderie, a desperate attempt to find normalcy in an abnormal world. I've shared meals with these men, heard their stories, their childhood dreams, their missteps, their descent into darkness. Many carry the weight of trauma, of abuse, of neglect, of poverty. Their stories are not excuses, but they are explanations. They remind us that people are not born monsters. The prison walls may muffle their voices, but they cannot silence them entirely. Through letters, through visits, through art, they share their humanity. They remind us that they are more than their worst deeds. They are fathers, sons, brothers. They are capable of remorse, of growth, of change. The execution chamber, sterile, cold, impersonal, a stark contrast to the vibrant lives that have been led. The condemned is strapped to a gurney, needles pierce their veins. Witnesses gather, some seeking closure, others driven by morbid curiosity. The air is thick with tension, with grief, with the undeniable finality of it all. I have witnessed executions, have seen the life drained from a human being's eyes, felt the collective gasp of the witnesses. The silence that follows is deafening. It is a deeply unsettling experience, one that stays with you long after the curtains are drawn. There is no dignity in death row, no humanity in the execution process. It is a sanitized killing, a carefully orchestrated event designed to distance us from the reality of what is taking place. But we cannot escape the truth. We are taking a life, and that is something we must never become numb to. The debate over capital punishment often centers around abstract concepts like justice and deterrence, but witnessing an execution brings the issue into sharp focus. It forces us to confront the human cost of this punishment, the pain, the suffering, the finality of it all. Unexpected bonds, finding humanity in the shadow of death. In the most unlikely of places, friendships bloom, between guards and inmates, between volunteers and the condemned. These relationships are a testament to the power of human connection, a reminder that even in the darkest of places hope can flourish. I've seen these bonds firsthand. The guard who slips an extra magazine to an inmate, the volunteer who spends hours listening to stories of regret and longing, the lawyer who fights tirelessly for a client they know is deeply flawed. These acts of kindness, of compassion, chip away at the walls of isolation that define death row. For the condemned, these connections are a lifeline, a reminder that they are not forgotten, that they are still human beings worthy of love and respect. For those who reach out, these relationships are a transformative experience, a chance to see beyond the bars, to recognize the humanity in someone society has deemed irredeemable. These unexpected friendships challenge our preconceived notions. They force us to confront our own biases, our own fears. They remind us that everyone, even those who have committed terrible acts, is capable of connection, of compassion, of change. The ripple effect, families and witnesses forever changed. The impact of death row extends far beyond the prison walls. Families of victims grapple with their grief, their anger, their search for justice. The families of the condemned carry their own burden, the stigma of their loved ones' actions, the endless appeals, the dwindling hope, the agonizing wait for the inevitable. I've sat with families on both sides of this divide, listened to their stories, their pain, their longing for peace. There are no easy answers, no words of comfort that can truly heal these wounds. The death penalty does not bring closure. It only perpetuates the cycle of pain and suffering. Witnesses to executions carry their own scars. The haunting images, the emotional toll, the moral wrestling. Some find solace in their faith, others struggle to reconcile what they've seen with their beliefs. The act of witnessing an execution leaves an indelible mark, forcing a confrontation with our own mortality, our own humanity. The death penalty is often framed as a way to deliver justice, but true justice requires us to look beyond punishment. It demands that we acknowledge the ripple effects of violence, the lasting trauma inflicted on individuals, families, and communities. We must seek ways to break this cycle, to offer healing and restoration instead of perpetuating harm. Rethinking Justice: Reflections on Death Row. Death row stands as a stark reminder of our flawed justice system, a system that is often more focused on retribution than rehabilitation, more concerned with punishment than with addressing the root causes of crime. We must ask ourselves, what do we hope to achieve through the death penalty? Is it justice, or is it simply vengeance dressed up in legal robes? Years of walking alongside the condemned have taught me that true justice is complex. It requires us to look beyond the act, to see the human being behind the crime, to understand the circumstances that led them to this point. It demands that we acknowledge the potential for growth, for redemption, even within those who have caused great harm. The death penalty offers no such nuance. It is a blunt instrument, incapable of addressing the complexities of human behavior. It reduces individuals to their worst acts, ignoring any possibility of change or remorse. We must strive for a more humane, more restorative approach to justice, one that prioritizes healing, accountability, and the possibility of redemption. As long as death row exists, we must continue to bear witness, to give voice to the voiceless, to challenge injustice, to advocate for a more compassionate and just society. We must never avert our gaze from the human cost of this punishment, and we must never cease in our pursuit of a world where every life is valued, where justice is tempered with mercy, and where the death penalty is but a distant, barbaric memory.